Welcome back to the Acorn Path, everyone. I hope you are doing well or as well as you can be. Today we're going to talk about toxic positivity. You may have heard terminology thrown out, you may not have. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of break down what toxic positivity is and how is that different from reframing our thoughts or trying to challenge our belief systems that might be causing us more distress. So the definition of toxic positivity is an obsession with positive thinking and one believing that you have to put a positive spin on every single experience. So there's a couple of words in here I want to break down. Obsession. Obsession is an overall preoccupation. It doesn't mean we find it neat and clever and we like to use it often. This is sort of the only way that our mind is able to process or think about something. And obsessions are often comprised of compulsions. So compulsions are feelings or urges to have something a certain way, or to, in addictions, we talk about like urges, cravings, and compulsions, kind of driving that need to do something. So in this example of toxic positivity, I think the compulsion is, in my opinion, is perfectionism. We want everything to be perfect. We have become an obsessive culture of what does the outside look like? What are the appearances? And some of that is due to social media. We have created social media, which was a tool to also reflect what was going on inside of us as well. So I think there is a feedback loop there in between our reality that we wanted to create on these platforms and now kind of the overall algorithm of what is being presented on the outside, and even if we aren't experiencing that on the inside. So I think that's one big part of what I want to dive into. The other piece of this is this positive spin. So I'm a very positive-minded person. I have a lot of people in my life who would often say, wow, like I really admire your ability to change things around so quickly for yourself. And I absolutely come from an authentic place with that. In fact, a lot of the times when I'm working with clients, or if you have known me for a while, you have probably heard me say in this kind of topic or area that if we're dealing with a pile of shit and we put sparkles all over it, now we just have a sparkly pile of shit. And trying to tell ourselves that it's anything other than that is really lying to ourselves and not being aligned with our authentic selves. So I want to go from here in this video and really kind of break down these two notions and how this idea of toxic positivity is really not helpful. And in a lot of times it's harmful to ourselves. It's harmful to the people that we are kind of spewing it at. And we'll talk a little bit about why. And then what is the actual skill or the authentic use of positive psychology, so that we also don't have to be letting our lives be controlled by every experience, negative, positive, or otherwise, that we can kind of redirect things for ourselves in our mind, and how that's different from toxic positivity. Let's just start with the toxic part and move through to this place where I want us to land by the end of this video. And the toxic piece of this is you're having a really bad day or really deep in some feelings, And let's say for right now in this situation, somebody comes along and you really share with them deeply, like, I'm feeling this way. And they come at you and they're like, oh man, like, that's so rough. But, like, somebody else always has it harder than you. You should think about those people. Or it's probably not that bad or that big of a deal. You'll get over it. This person that's saying this probably has a lot of really good intentions. And I think I've brought up before the idea of the difference between intentions and impact. So we can have a very well-intentioned person, somebody who's even saying these things out of love, and that may not land the best way. And in fact, in my experiences for myself, I would say that even though I am able to kind of turn things around for myself, when I've had people in my moments of vulnerability kind of turn that around on me. Oh, well, it's not as bad as this, or you can get over it, or, you're pretty strong or capable. Like, you should just be able to deal with that. And I think they're trying to give me a compliment, or they're trying to encourage me. But I really just want to validate something for everyone in that situation, whether you're the person and you're like, oh God, I do that to people, or if you've had that done to you, even if you do it to yourself. What's really happening there is that we are armoring up, which is a Brene Brown terminology. We armor up against the vulnerability. It's uncomfortable to watch someone in discontent, in shame, in unpleasantness, in despair, especially when that person's close to us. So our well intentions of trying to make a positive thing out of what's going on in the moment is actually quite hurtful. And it's hurtful to us because we're not connecting with what's going on. That person's probably going to get pissed at us and either walk away or yell back, or you never understand me, and start crying, and now we feel bad because we were just trying to help. But what's really going on underneath that? We're feeling powerless. We can't change what's going on for that person. So the next best thing to changing and trying to strive for this idea of outward perfection and how we both want to experience the world and how we want others, especially those we care about, to experience the world, we're going to do the next thing that we think is positive, and we're going to try to control that situation through a narrative, which is toxic positivity, which is just see the other side of it. Hey, if it's raining, look for the rainbows. I love rainbows. And the storms that create rainbows are often just as beautiful as the rainbows themselves. And I think we lose sight of that. So that's part of what's going on, is that there's some discomfort going on that we're not being honest about. And then we're projecting that out. Glennon Doyle, who's another person that I really admire and read a lot of her stuff, in her recent book, Untamed, she actually had a line that said, if you really love someone for who they are, you can't simultaneously control them. Just let that land for a moment. If you love someone for who they really are, you can't simultaneously control them. Where that leads us is to this idea of, what do we actually do in these moments where we want to really genuinely help someone and we are in discomfort about their discomfort? What we can do is what we've been practicing on this channel. And if you're new to this channel, there's tons of other resources, the pause, the mindfulness stuff, but drop down into that moment. Don't go chasing rainbows. Don't go trying to fix something that feels uncomfortable. When someone says, I'm in a lot of discomfort and pain. Your job in that moment is not to fix their pain. Your job in that moment is to notice what watching someone experience pain feels like for you. A lot of the times it brings up anxiety, fear, abandonment, disconnection, not feeling empowered, not feeling like you have control. And that's a scary place for us to be sitting. So we try to fix it versus witness. Wow, it seems like you're really going through a really hard time. Is there anything that you want or need from me? Is there anything I can do in this moment to provide comfort? Do you just need space? What's going on? That is dropping down in the moment and being able to be present with what's going on inside of you and what's going on inside of that person. So start to see how being able to be more present with what's actually going on is kind of the antithesis of toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is, I want to fix this so it can go away. And a lot of the times, for all of my empaths and sensitive people out there, a lot of the times if you're the one doing this, what you need to realize is that it's happening because you're feeling. For empaths, they feel what that other person's feeling. So you want to fix it because you don't want to feel that way. Totally reasonable thing. But the thing is, you don't have the power and control to fix it because it's not yours. So what you actually need to do is challenge yourself. If you're experiencing pain that's really someone else's pain, and then you want to go into this mode of like, let's just make it bright and shiny and okay again. Drop down and really identify what is their stuff and what is yours. Oh, I'm having a reaction to the pain that I'm feeling that's really that person's pain. Or their pain has triggered something in me. I need to now go take care of that for myself and let them know how I can support them while I'm taking care of myself, and hopefully they can take care of themselves. I think it comes out of all these well-intentioned places or lack of understanding and lack of really connecting authentically in the present moment. And if we continue with the toxic positivity, if we continue to have to make everything shiny and bright and perfect and the appearances on the outside, looking great while inside we're feeling destroyed, that eats away at us. It eats away at us. It creates disconnection in our relationships because now that person doesn't want to share authentically with you because they feel invalidated by your responses of trying to constantly make everything feel better or be okay. And that creates more pain. Some of the tips and things I've already been sharing is a way that if you're the person kind of has the tendency to put on the rose-colored glasses and try to make everything okay or fix something that's, I tell people all the time, not a plumber, nothing's broken, not gonna fix this. We have to sit in the emotions, understand the emotions, work with our stuff, and give people the chance to work with their own stuff. All of my beautiful souls that are healers and caretakers, the world needs you. And we don't need people jumping into a burning building with us just to suffer right alongside of us. That's not helpful. What we need is the support and the encouragement that you're going to get through that. And in the meantime, I'm here, or I'm going to give you space, or whatever you feel like you need. And it's okay if you don't know what you need, then just let me know when you figure that out. So this is what working through it looks like. For the people who are receiving the toxic positivity, hopefully you can establish boundaries. Hopefully you can start to understand what are your needs in those moments, so that when you're sharing, you can also say like, hey, this is my expectation of what I need in this moment, or can you help me with this? And sometimes when we're a little bit more clear, and that's not always possible. It's not always your work to do that, but that does help at least the other person know, oh, okay, they're just looking for a sounding board. Great. Or, hey, I really need some advice because I'm feeling really stuck and trapped in this. Can you give me some advice on this? Then stick to what they've asked. And if the person starts to go off into something that you're not comfortable with and you're receiving it, it's okay to just say, hey, look, I'm not really ready to hear all of that. Move on, end the conversation, go to the next thing that can help you get through that situation. I guess one last note in regards to this toxic positivity is just this idea. It comes back to the comparisons that I've done a video on, which is don't feed into this idea that everything has to be perfect on the outside. Being human is being messy. It is chaos and order all in one. We are a conundrum of multiple emotions and opposites, dialectics. So it's okay to just not even know. I don't know what to say. I really wish I knew how to support you right now. I'm kind of lost at this moment too. It's okay to not have the answers and to not be able to make everything better. When we feed into this idea that the world has to look a certain way and we have to look a certain way to fit into the world, again, a lot of the times that's separating us, disconnecting us from our real authenticity. And what authenticity is what it means to you. And what aligns with where you're at in that moment. So even what works for me, not going to work for everybody. So it's really important to try and sink into that moment, understand what's going on, understand your needs, understand what will actually be effective or helpful in that situation. And that most of us don't want anyone to just jump into the burning building to suffer with us. We want support or guidance or even just a witness or space to be understood. With that all being said, I'm going to switch gears into how do we decipher between what we just talked about and reframing. So reframing is a psychological, cognitive behavioral terminology and skill. And what we're really doing when we reframe is we're taking that moment that we've dropped down into, we realize what's going on. We might be able to identify thoughts, needs, feelings, behaviors, urges, cravings, whatever it might be. And we can say, this is what's happening, and that's not really what I want. Or that's not really helpful. And this is how I'm choosing to move forward from this. So I'm going to give you a real life example. I was running late, went to the train, was waiting on the train platform, and was waiting for a certain train, and it never came. And I saw all these other trains passing. And usually there are signs, but for whatever reason, there was one itty bitty sign in a place that I didn't see. I finally asked someone, and they're like, oh no, those trains aren't running right now. I was so angry because now I've wasted like 15 minutes, and how am I going to figure this out? What am I going to do? And as I'm walking back home, and at that time I still had my car, so as I'm walking back home to be like, I guess I'm driving to this place, I was so mad. I was blaming the employees. I was cussing. I was like, I'm going to start right back over where I already was. I should have just did this. I'm so stupid. All that stuff was coming up. And in the midst of walking back to my apartment at the time, I just stopped and was like, is this helping me? Like, is what I'm telling myself, is the story that I'm rehearsing right now, which is all of this is stupid and I'm stupid and they're stupid, is any of that actually helping me feel better? Is it helping me get to my destination better? And in fact, no. Like, if I'm going to stay in this mood, I'm going to be angry at traffic now. I'm going to be frustrated when I get there. It's not going to be the same experience as if I take control of what I am actually telling myself in this moment right now. So I decided that what I was going to tell myself is, I'm really glad that I have a car and the means to have a secondary way to get to this place. I don't have to cancel this appointment. I'm also really glad that I asked someone and I didn't just stand there and get more and more upset about it, that I did something effective for myself. And there was probably a couple other things. And that didn't make the feelings of frustration and irritation. And every time I hit a red light, I was frustrated and I started catching that narrative. And then I would come back and be like, okay, there's nothing I can do about this red light. I'm here. I'm doing the best that I can. And I have to move forward from this moment. So to me, that's what reframing is. Reframing is catching yourself in a cycle of some kind of ineffective or negative spin and asking yourself, does this work? Is this helpful? Is this accomplishing the goal that I want it to accomplish? Or is this, at the very least making me feel neutral about the situation, not even better? And I think that's where the difference is. Toxic positivity is always focused on you have to feel better. You can't feel bad. You can't have the negative emotions. Reframing is, okay, this is all very real. This is here. What are my choices? How do I want to engage in this moment and the next moment? And to me, that's a very different feel and take on those things. I think my final point for today, because I've covered a lot of ground, is just bringing up the inspiration, which this all came into my head. And I really feel like I've been seeing a lot lately and hearing a lot just all over the place in regards to the pandemic, in regards to people trying to do their best in these days and times where there's a lot of discord and turmoil and confusion. And just people constantly shunning or excluding any negativity. And I am absolutely a proponent of bring it back to love. Hate's drinking poison. Hate and discord are not going to solve our problems. And when we reject that we have negativity, that we have a shadow part of us, that we have these negative thoughts, these negative urges, or even a behavior that we don't want to admit that we have, that's a form of denial. And denial can be helpful in certain aspects. But when we're denying ourselves of connecting in that moment authentically, because we're trying to cover it up, we're trying to shield against it, we're trying to put sparkles on shit and pretend it's something else now, that is actually causing more of a wound, more vulnerability, more pain. Or as Marsha Linehan, who created another therapy modality, dialectical behavioral therapy, talks about, is that the difference between pain and suffering is pain is real, pain happens, pain is part of our human experience, and suffering is what happens when we deny that there's pain. If you happen to be out in the world and seeing good vibes only and find yourself in communities where people want to do comparisons of people who have it worse and compared to your pain, it's important to draw some boundaries, maybe direct them towards this video, and really consider that we're not meant to just sit in the pain, but we have to acknowledge it. We have to learn how to work through it so that it doesn't consume our life. It doesn't take up space in our bodies. It doesn't get put in the storage house in our brain for some later date when it's very unexpected that it comes out. This is how we take care of ourselves, and really how we take care of each other when we're doing this work. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts, any questions, anything that you feel resonated with you in this video. Please let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, and please share with people, share with anyone that you feel like could benefit from this. Until next time, bye.